sunlight. Our clothes are all what they would call color fast. They're not going to fade so much in light, but these could. These could be made out of different animal, or rather plants, mineral products, those kinds of things that would dye this fabric and can be lost over time. It's not very permanent. So those there. A couple other interesting things here is essentially a milk jug or a milk basket. This is a woven basket that's most likely coated on the interior with a wax type of material that is used to haul milk from either where the animals were or from one area to another, possibly milk from the area where it was gathered, the animals, to a market to sell it, and then it would be poured out for people to buy and people to drink those. So interesting. A large spoon here with a very scary head on it up here. This would be a spoon that would be used as like a serving spoon in a ceremony of great importance. Not something that they would use every day, of course, but nonetheless a very interesting item to kind of take a good look at there. So, and then over here some other knives, some other baskets, and other things there. So, any questions so far?
I have a question.
Yes.
With some of the stuff being made from like natural resources and stuff, how do they keep from getting like bacteria and stuff?
You mean bacteria in their food?
Yeah,
or?
like just getting bacteria, like you said, that's a little milk thing.
Sure.
How do you keep from getting like bacteria in it?
You don't.
You don't. Oh.
You don't. You wash it the best you can, but you don't.
And how do you keep the milk cold?
Well, milk doesn't always have to be cold. If it's fresh, you don't have to be cold. So, I'm sure maybe your grandparents, they didn't always drink cold milk. They might have had warm milk, even in this country, That's the way it was. It's fresh. We don't have to have that. And you think about, that's a good question, the idea of bacteria and stuff. Even today, a lot of the people in Africa, they have different makeups than we do. Their bodies can withstand certain bacteria or live with certain bacteria that we cannot anymore. Through modern technology, sciences and stuff, we've eradicated a lot of things for the good, but there's probably also some stuff in us that didn't need to be taken care of, but they still have in them that can take care of certain bacteria that they might get from stuff that's a little unwashed, milk that might be a little, for example, gone a little bit more south than what we would stand in. So they have different constitutions, I guess you could say, that put up with those kinds of things. Any other questions over any of this right here that I can try to answer for you? All right, let's kind of wrap back around this side. We'll kind of come around and do this. And we can kind of just kind of go down here and I'll talk about this whole area for a minute. This area here kind of displays, some more of the items that have been kept, that have been saved and revered from the natural environment. Again, animals and the presence of animals in everyday life, but also the importance of animals in the areas that the people have that are very important. Of course, this zebra skin here, the patterning in this right here is incredibly fascinating. When you think about this, patterning in the natural skin, and then you look at some of these textiles, you might start to see, so the same idea is happening in what they make, the direct environment around them. And then over here we have some other natural elements that are saved. These two elephants' feet that were actually used at one time to hold table legs. It's kind of a crazy thing to think about, but pretty fascinating. And of course, the ivory tusks and the different horns here, or rather antlers from the impala and the other deer that they have on here. Animals are a great part of ritual sacrifices that may be done possibly to get a good favoring for a hunt, get a good favoring for agriculture, farm, whole sorts of things. If offering an animal for the gods and for the spiritual figures is thought to be, you're going to be a great favor if you can do that. If you can offer an animal with horns or antlers on its head, even better off you're going to be, because then that's also, there's thought to be great strength and even at times magic in some of the horns and some of the antlers, but also it's going to give proof and reminder of how much you sacrifice. You didn't just sacrifice the animal and the meat. You sacrificed everything, and it'll be proof to the people that come to the altars, to the areas of sacrifice, that you really went big on this one. You gave them a whole deer with the horns and everything there. You know, not just say rabbit or something like that. So stuff there. And this over here, we have a lot of kids tours through here, a lot of kids classes. You can't keep kids off this stuff. They want to touch all this stuff all the time. So we brought in some things that were actually, most of it is from Orangeburg County. So people can touch animal parts that are similar to what we have up here. So this is actually a deer. And this is from a beaver that was got from a pond around here, a turkey that was from this area, as well as these are from a wild pig. So you can touch all that stuff if you have the need to touch something. So instead of this. All right. Any questions so far? Likely traded for.
Found it or traded stole.
It's the lion tail.
No, they definitely didn't make that. The guns came from Western Russia, northern countries. All right, a couple things over here. As well as for war. Some bows, a gun, some spears. A number of the weapons in there are just used now or were intended only for ceremonial use. A prince or a king or a high-ranking figure within the group might use them in a performance, a masquerade, a parade, something like that. This is a symbol, not as a utilitarian type of object there. As we come into here, this is kind of the gallery of rituals. We've already talked a lot about rituals and the things and the parts that go into that. A lot of the particular ethnic groups would have a figure or several figures that were thought to have a connection with the other worlds, a connection with higher powers. Those people were looked for or looked to perform certain rituals or certain prayers or to initiate certain ceremonies or dances to possibly get, you could say the blessings of spirits or gods, or to possibly help to cure somebody, again, help to get better crops, help to have a good hunt, help to have healthier people, more babies, stuff like that. And so a lot of this stuff represents the things that they would hold. Many of the items in this area here, and including the masks over there, would never be seen, or very rarely be seen, by just ordinary members of the groups, ordinary members of the community and the public. They would only be used and seen by the people performing the rituals, the medicine, the medicine men, or the medicine doctors, those kinds of things, or the dancers that perform in these rituals. Otherwise, these things would usually be kept in a closed cabinet, shuttered in the dark. You would never see them. They're thought to hold so much power that you wouldn't want to see them. You wouldn't want them on display. So you would never see this kind of stuff displayed as it is in an African community or African group. So a couple of interesting items up here within this, in particular, is this down here a leopard paw belt that was used, for some ceremonial stuff. So an incredible piece right there in that belt, and several. Awful to think about, but several circumcision knives here in those areas, and some other knives and kind of some other scary stuff right there. So, over here, just a couple things, and make sure you take a good look at these poems. Really fantastic poems. You know, again, the use of a utilitarian, everyday object turned into something of great beauty and something of great value to the people that would hang on to them. And then another thing here that I wanted to point out is these down here are actually money. Wrought iron bars would be used to trade instead of coin or paper money. These were used to signify a certain amount of currency. So I can't imagine carrying a bag of them around. I probably wouldn't have very much of it. But an interesting idea there nonetheless. Any questions so far? Anybody have any questions or anything so far? Everybody okay? All right, let's go ahead and move in. We'll move into the last area here in the masks. Good question here is, where did all this come from, or where was it all donated from? Who gave us this stuff? You'll see on all the name tags down here, you'll see on the top usually the tribe or the ethnic group that these came from, under that, the country that it came from, and then under that, the collection. And so here it says McDonald Collection, here it says Gregory Collection, over there the Columbia Museum of Art. So here, of course, the Columbia Museum of Art from Columbia up the road, 40